I'm John Gallo here at the Bravo Awards with Steve Taormino of CC&A Strategic Media. Thanks for coming, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, thanks.
Let me ask you a question. If you could turn back the clock and go back to when you were a senior in high school, looking back at you now, what type of advice would you give yourself?
That's a hard question because I started my business as a senior in high school.
Where'd you go to high school?
Archbishop Curley High School.
Oh, you're a Baltimore guy.
I am a Baltimore guy. Right out of high school.
Right out of high school.
Yeah, I started my business. I would tell myself as a senior in high school is not to take it so laid back. When I started my business, I kind of started it as a hobby and just thought it was something that would pay my college tuition, which it ended up being, of course, but I really should have taken it much more seriously. And my business turned into a full-time job, and we employ a lot of people now, but we could have excelled much quicker if I had focused more back then.
Yes, obviously millennials in the workforce, what advice would you give them, and what is your keys to managing them?
You're throwing me another hard question because I am a millennial. I'm a millennial.
Not every millennial has his own business. A lot of millennials, the numbers say they tend to jump. Like, what would be your advice to manager? Because if you manage them right, you can get a great employee.
I would tell you that millennials can be the very best employee that any employer would have. Millennials tend to work harder than anyone else. They're just, for whatever reason, they're not given the freedom as many other people are. And maybe that's because millennials want to jump in and do more. As they should. They should want to do more. But I think sometimes millennials have to understand that there's a time and place, and you do have to climb the corporate ladder to some extent. Now that can change depending upon the company you're with. In some places seniority doesn't matter. Other places seniority is a really big part of how you evolve in that business. So my biggest advice would just be understand where you are, understand the politics of that work environment so you can succeed the best.
You wake up in the morning, what's your go-to for news? Where do you get your news? If you have to trust one source, what's your go-to?
I don't trust any of them, to be completely honest with you. I tend to, when I wake up in the morning...
I was trying to be a softball there.
I know.
Talking hard ones. I'm giving you a softball. Go ahead.
So I wake up in the morning, first thing I do is I dig a beeline right to my coffee. I do turn on the television. I'll turn on NBC generally and watch that first. In most cases, if I see a story that I don't trust very much, I'll turn to the internet. I might Google it. I might look at MSN. I might look at Fox News. It's extremely important today, more than any other time in history, is to figure out how to discern what you're reading and understand what's real, what's not, and not even act on it, but know how to apply it to whatever your life situation is.
Speaking about technology being available, what's your go-to app so that you think, if you had one app that you need to run your business, what is it?
Well, my business is all about behavior analytics and technology. So we use Google Analytics and a number of other analytical suites to understand what people do and why they do those things. But I would tell you from a communication standpoint, we use the Microsoft Office 365 suite. Yeah, I mean, we use Teams, we use Skype, we use Outlook, we use Google Analytics, like I just said. I mean, we use a whole host of different things. And that's not even talking about social media. We have a whole other suite of tools that we use just for social media.
If you hired me tomorrow and you said, you know what, I have a book or a movie that I think you need to watch or read to understand what it takes to succeed and understand me as a business person, what book or movie would it be?
The Art of War.
I would totally go for it. That's a great answer. What specifically? I mean, that's centuries old.
It is centuries old. It's all about, again, it goes back to what I love, understanding behavioral analytics. Why does someone do something? What motivates them to choose product A over product B? And then if you're working for product B, if that's our client, how can we put product B in a position to overcome product A?
All right, wrapping up here. Let me ask you, okay, we talked about political climate. Politics tend to be seeping into the workplace more and more every day, especially millennials tend to be more politically active. What is your philosophy on the role of talking about politics in the workplace, and has that changed in the past 10 years?
Yes, it has. So first off, we have never had a, quote, policy about politics in the company. I will tell you that you're free to talk about whatever you want, but I will also tell you that it's mandatory. You have to agree to disagree sometimes. And if you can't separate work from politics and say, okay, we're just disagreeing and then table it, then it's going to be a problem.
All right, last one. Forget about work. What's your perfect day outside the office?
Perfect day outside the office. My perfect day is with my wife and my daughter, Lizzie. Anytime I get to spend with them, it doesn't matter what we're doing. You know, we could be on the beach, we could be playing golf somewhere. I mean, we could be at home just doing chores. But when I'm with my wife and my daughter, that's when I'm at my best, and I love my life.
Last one. How do you think Mayor Pugh and Governor Hogan could use what you do in terms of analytics to make better choices to spur growth downtown?
Very clear. So our government does not effectively understand how to communicate with their constituents. They don't understand what motivates them. Or if they do understand what motivates them, they're doing a very poor job of representing it in the cabinets. So they could use our services really to get down on a personal level, a very individualistic type level with their constituents to understand really what motivates people to do things. And I think if they understood those things on a macro level, they could do their job so much better.